We are ready for negotiations. We are ready for honest negotiations without treason, as it was when, on the eve of the coup d'etat in February 2014, negotiations led to an agreement on regulation, including the creation of a government of national unity, including the holding of early elections. And in the morning, the opposition did not care about guarantees in the form of signatures of France, Germany, and Poland, and committed a coup d'etat, and began to hunt for President Yanukovych, with whom they signed a document under the guarantee of the Europeans. Minsk agreements were reached, which, as it turned out later, served as a shield, including for the Europeans, about which Frau Merkel and Monsieur Hollande, having already resigned several years ago, said that no one was going to carry them out and that these agreements were needed only to gain time to pump Ukraine with weapons, so that it could more actively and more effectively destroy the Russians. We had talks with the Ukrainian side in Istanbul in April 2022, when, on the offer of the Ukrainian side, we agreed with their approach and followed the principles that should have been in line with the final settlement agreement. Almost a year ago, in Anchorage, in Alaska, President Putin, as he also emphasized, expressing the spirit of compromise, accepted the specific proposal of President Trump. This is how the negotiations ended. I really hope that the experience of previous failures, when the West refused to carry out its agreed agreements, will not be repeated regarding Alaska agreements. But to our great regret, our American partners are not showing any interest in this. The President has recently confirmed, and has confirmed this at other levels, that we are ready to be guided by those concepts that were clearly outlined during the meeting in Anchorage on last August 15th. But we are certainly worried about the statement of the Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who recently said at a hearing in Congress that the United States cannot be an intermediary because it supports Ukraine. The same was said by the infamous Kaja Kallas and a number of other figures from the European Union and the European Commission. Therefore, it is difficult for me to comment on the prospects of the negotiations. Yesterday, I think, in London, the leaders of Britain, France, and Germany, together with Zelensky, signed a document on the strategic support of this regime to prepare for the deployment of the stabilizing forces, in other words, the occupying forces, on what will remain from Ukraine after the conflict. The agreement is that Ukraine will be supplied with additional long-range weapons in order to attack Russian territory, including deep territory. I struggle to see how any negotiations can take place in this context. I think we should all be serious about what President Putin said when he answered the questions at the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum. Now, everything depends not on negotiations but on the actions of our heroes at the front. As for preferences, that's what I've already explained to you. When you ask, does Moscow have any preferences? It's still an ongoing diplomatic matter. We want the Secretary General to fully adhere to the requirements outlined in the UN Charter. Impartiality, a firm refusal to accept instructions from any UN member, and, overall, the implementation of the tasks set out in the Charter, but not selectively, rather in their entirety. Regrettably, the current Secretary General, whom I have known very well and for a long time, and who has extensive experience within the UN system, does not meet these standards. He openly goes along with the West, including on the Ukrainian issue. Regarding the reform of the Secretariat, it is certainly necessary. We have already brought this up with the UN Security Council and discussed it at the General Assembly, including in my speeches during the last 80th session. There are many positions to consider. We need to focus on those that genuinely concentrate power within the UN. This includes the leadership of the Secretariat and the heads of the departments through which the lion's share of the UN budget is allocated. There are several key roles. The Secretary General himself is a NATO member. His first deputy is a woman from Nigeria, but he is also a British citizen, meaning he is involved with NATO as well. The deputy for political affairs is an American, another NATO member. The deputy for peacekeeping is French. The deputy for humanitarian affairs is British, again, NATO. The deputy responsible for the security of the entire UN system, personnel, institutions, buildings, premises, is Canadian, which also aligns with NATO. Recently, a new deputy was appointed to oversee reform of the United Nations, linked to the report by the general historian called UN 80, which, incidentally, is also British. These are 7 key figures who hold the main levers of power in the functioning of the entire United Nations. Of course, this cannot be tolerated. Michelle Bachelet is in Moscow today, and we will be meeting with her in a few hours. We have no objections to a woman leading this organization, just as we would have with any other organization. Regarding BRICS, we have reached a consensus among the 10 member states that make up the group at present. For the time being, we have put the admission of new members on hold. Just 2 years ago, BRICS membership doubled instantly from 5 to 10, and we need some time to adjust to the new composition. However, our position regarding candidacies in Bangladesh is that once this pause is over, we will be sympathetic towards the candidacy of this large and important Asian country.